Hello everyone, welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. Alright, so it looks like we have some leaks and rumors regarding the Galaxy S24 Fan Edition. If you're a fan of the Fan Edition from Samsung Galaxy series, you might get really excited about this because it looks like we're going to see some very good specs. The article is suggesting that it might surpass the regular S24. If that's the case, you may want to hold off on buying the S24 if you were considering it and waiting for the release of the S24 FE, or at least waiting a little bit longer just to see if any new information is provided regarding the release date, the cost, and maybe a more finalized idea of the specs. Remember, this is just an estimate, guesstimate at this time based on a leaker on Twitter who I guess is basically trying to say that they have some kind of inside information. Maybe they've seen the phone or they've heard, inside rumors and news regarding what the phone is actually going to present to us or be like. So based on this article here, which is from Phone Arena, I will link it for you down below in the description. We're looking at a decent phone, a very, very decent phone, should I add. So let's dive right into it. So according to Connor Bai, who is the leaker, he says that the phone could sport a 6.1 AMOLED screen. He does say he's not sure about the size. As far as storage, 256 gigabytes UFS 4.0 and or 128 gigabytes UFS 3.1. 12 gigs of RAM is a very strong possibility, which is amazing, by the way. That's what we're getting on the S24. That would be solid if that is introduced to the FE S24. Also battery, 4,500 milliamp battery. That's a bigger battery than the S24. Now the question here though, before we dive further, is a 4,005 milliamp battery on a 6.1 inch screen. The S24 has a 6.2 inch screen and a 4,000 milliamp battery, and it's more expensive. So whether or not that's really going to happen, we might have to wait and see. Usually the last two fan editions have been a 6.4 inch screen. So for them dropping to a 6.1 and putting a bigger battery, it's questionable. Usually we see a bigger battery on a bigger screen to support it. I don't know. I don't know. This can go either way. This can be one of those things where Samsung is thinking, all right, we'll give you bigger specs, but we'll reduce some of that real estate on the screen to cut some corners and save a little money. Or they could decide to keep the 6.4 inch screen, give us the 4,005 milliamp battery, or they could just drop the battery to a 4,000 milliamp battery and drop the screen to a 6.1 inch battery, because they're giving the 12 gigabytes of RAM. And last but not least, the best part here, the possibility of a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor. Now, if we were to get that processor on an S24 FE phone, which keep in mind, the FE is supposed to be a watered down version of the S24, or the lower tier Galaxy S series for that year whenever it's released. So I don't know. There's a possibility he's saying that it could be Exynos 2400. I really hope they don't go that route. It does seem unlikely because the last, basically all the fan editions have been Snapdragon processors, so I don't really think they would go that route. If they did, even with the 12 gigs of storage, the 4,000 milliamp battery, the 12 gigs of RAM, and then, good storage options, if they went ahead and changed the processor to Exynos, that's going to be a downgrade in my opinion. The Exynos is, a decent processor, but it doesn't hold a candle next to Snapdragon, especially not a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. We all know that that's a powerhouse, so I really hope that they don't do it. I find that the Exynos processors are better fit for the A54 series, which is why we usually find it on those, which is a cheaper, watered down version, if you ask me, of the FE devices series, right? So I don't know. I don't think they're going to do that. I sure hope not. That would basically be downgrading the fan edition series. I hope they don't do that. I hope they keep the idea of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which would be, a high vamp over the S23 Fan Edition, by the way, which I did pull up here so we can just take a look at it. So the specs on the S23 Fan Edition, we had the 6.4 inch screen, right? Dynamic AMOLED. And then we had for the processor, we had the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. So if we get the 3, that's going to be dynamite. It's going to be dynamite. A lot of people are going to buy that phone, let me tell you. And then we have, we had the 8 gigs of RAM. So going up to 12 is a big difference, massive difference. We don't know anything about the cameras yet on the S24 FE. We don't really know, much more than what we just talked about. There could be some additional differences. We don't know as far as like what the Wi-Fi will be and all that other stuff. But I mean, so far, if indeed that is the truth, we're looking at a solid device. And we'll just take a quick look at the actual S24. So we have the 6.2 inch 50 megapixel camera, available in 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 processor, 4000 milliamp battery. So again, based on the battery size and the screen, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if Samsung would go all the way down to a 6.1 and then fit that fatter battery. They could decide to do like a 6.3 inch to save a little money, cut some corners, give a little bit of a smaller screen, but still have enough real estate and a heavy enough screen to kind of support the bigger battery. So we'll see. My guess is it won't be a 6.1 inch battery unless a 6.1 inch screen, unless they decide to drop the battery. But I don't know. I could be wrong. We'll see. And then basically, it's looking like, I think the biggest difference we're going to see so far, it looks like it's just the cameras. The cameras are probably going to be a lot more high quality on the regular S24, but that's the case always, right? That's how it always is. The S24 usually has better camera, but for most consumers, it's not noticeable. It's not going to be a noticeable thing. For everyday people, they won't really care. The FE cameras, the Fan Edition cameras, are very good. They're very good. They are high quality. They're not as good as the Samsung Ultra models, obviously, or even the Plus models, but they're good. And I think for most, that's what they care about. If you're someone that does a lot of vlogging, or you're a huge content creator and you use your phone to do all of that recording, you're going to want the Ultra models anyway, just because those have the best cameras, the best everything. It's the smoothest version of the series. But if you're not that kind of person, then that's why the FE is here. So we will see any more updates. I'm definitely going to stay on the case here because I'm very interested to see what we're going to get. I think that we're looking at a possible grand slam here if indeed this information is true. But I think we'll see definitely a change with that either the screen size or the battery. Something's going to be switched up. As always, thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.